What's up, family? This is your man, not your boy, Go Black to, oops, wrong side, Africa. Peace and blessings to each and every one of you all out there. I'm currently in Ghana. Yeah, but I just left Israel. And I'm going to tell you, it was an awesome sight. It was an awesome opportunity to meet our brothers and sisters uh, who left America, who's been there for 55 years or plus. But most importantly, what I'm going to share today is to introduce you to an African, a brother who lives there in Israel and is an Ishmaelite. These people here, our brothers and sisters, go way back. He said thousands of years that they can trace their families all the way back to the biblical times, the writing scroll, scriptures, whatever you want to call it, where they already know their truth, that they already know where we are so lost, family. We ain't been told nothing. We just been given a plate of lies that we ate off of. Many of us fear the Bible and say it's the white man's religion, all that right there. But this brother here who has the facts actually can show you all what their teaching is and have been coming through generation of generations. It's going to come straight from his own mouth. But I want y'all to pay close attention because we have been misplaced, displaced, and put in places around the globe in the hands of foreigners to where why would they share your story from where they got the story and decide to present it in the way they see it or believe they want when we are excluded in everything? Now, let me put a disclaimer out here. This is not to bash, beat up, or uh, push anybody out of your own area of belief system. This right here is another means for you to be educated on somebody else's education and what they're taught, what they know, where they are. And if you can grab a hold of that, family, I'm telling you, your mind, your spirit opens up. You begin now to walk in a different light or walk into the light because we've been in darkness to where now you become powerful. Not powerful of getting a job and money. We're talking about starting to make some things happen in a supernatural realm or dimension to where now you begin to see things transpire in your life, in your children's life. You begin to get clarity. You begin to see things beyond than just your pupils of your eyes. You begin able to hear things because you become in tune with truth. This ain't about religion. This ain't about trying to convince anybody. But I know that we as a people, come on now, y'all. How many times y'all sat around and say, why does black folk get it the worst? Why are we mistreated across the globe? Why is it? When people know who you are and you don't know yourself, you're going to always ask why. But once you get the truth, you're going to be like, I get it now. It really makes sense to me. Why we're so hated? Because we were in the position of the promise. Now, many people have come to my channel and haven't really even got to know my heart. They haven't put their finger on the pulse of really where I am and where I stand. And I don't really release a lot of who I am. I let you make that determination. Many people told me I'm affiliated with this or that or connected with this or this and that. I let you determine that. I don't need to come out of my mouth and tell you where I stand, but I can tell you where I come from. I can tell you who I am considered by the Most High. You know, if we can get to this place, because this brother's about to drop some nuggets, we're going to get to the video because I have traveled the world for my truth. And the three countries that really give you the most revelation, in my opinion, is Ethiopia, Egypt, and Israel. These three places are what will connect the dots or the piece of the puzzles in your research or your unknowing or unknowledge or your knowledge or your wisdom in order for you to get a clearer picture. For those who watch my videos, I've been exposing the lies. I've been showing y'all what these other countries look at and believe in beyond what we've been told. Ethiopia, who has the oldest on hand, the writings and the pictures that depict the Messiah, Yahweh, Yeshua, whatever names, Jesus, or whatever you want to use that name that only came in the 1400s, whatever, because the J wasn't around. These things, when you sit at people's table and you begin to dive into their history, is then when you be like, we weren't taught that. Is this what y'all taught? When you begin to see people who you never thought looked like you, in positions, in places, in high places, you begin to understand, wow, this is my story. When you get to this place, family, this is when you now begin to become woke. Not woke because you realize the enemy or who is your enemy that is against you and they suppressing you, oppressing you, depressing you, whatever it is, you're going to realize why. Once you realize that, then you can understand how important you really are. And now you can be set on course for the mission of you preserving, protecting that character, that individual, that representative who happens to be you. I've said it before. We are the example of the world. That's why we can always continue to forgive people. We really can get along with anybody. We can sit down and break bread and invite people in. And we are not a warring people. We are not a people who are just filled like that. Time has gone on to where we have developed and become the characteristics of those who haven't taught us to behave in fashions that their culture takes on. Even in Africa. Do you know how many Africans don't even know who they are? So many have lost their culture. They only think that they are from what they see today. And it's sad. And the sad part about Africa, I'm going to do a video on this, is that Africa don't even know the history of slavery. It is amazing. I talked to 3 people today. They're in their 20s. Never heard of slavery. I said, y'all don't know nothing about the people being taken out of the coastlands of Africa for the transatlantic slave trade? No. You don't know that we are coming back to the motherland because we used to be here in this land? No. This is sheer ignorance. How can Africa want to teach their children European language, or you're going to force French in people's language? But you can't teach your people, your family members who were sold, as well as taken, snatched by the muzzle of a gun, sent over to foreign lands, Brazil, Central America, and the islands, and over in Mexico, and over in Central America, North Americas. You mean to tell me, if you don't know who you are or who your people are, this is our problem. Let's get into this right here. Let me just give you a quick thing. I am interviewing Sheik Aieed, and he is an Ishmaelite. For those who are familiar with the scroll scriptures, the ancient writings, He is in Israel and will tell you what he's going to tell you to break open your mindset that what we were told. CBS goes around, NBCs and BCCs and all of these big media companies go around telling stories. Will never interview our people to hear their story and what they know, because as soon as we know, the whole thing changes. So let me introduce you to Sheik Aieed, an Ishmaelite and who is in Israel. Tell you they've been there for thousands of years. And before Israel became a state in 1948, if you don't know that, do your history. That Israel, what we know today, was made a state in 1948. What was there before then? Who was there before then? Interesting enough. Let's get into it. I'm going to flip over here real quick. I'm going to play this video. I'm going to come back real quick to make sure y'all can hear this and you can see this. So let's get into it.
Okay, Brother Kofi, we're sitting in the home of Sheik Aieed. Okay. Second Shalom. And Sheik represents the indigenous face of this land. Along with the Hebrew Israelites, you have the Hebrew Ishmaelites.
And what land, where are we right now?
We're in Israel. We're in the southern region, the Negev.
Okay. Let me put this back here. Could y'all hear that? And could you see the whole screen of that? Please say yes. Could you hear it? And could you see it? Thumbs up, Big Fold Nation. Okay. Let's see what everybody else. Yes. Okay, cool. So we're going to get back into this. Please share this video, y'all. Sit your kids down, your grandkids down, and listen to this. This is important. You think I'm traveling around having fun? I'm trying to free the minds of our people. Let's get into it. All right. I'm going to back this up just a little bit.
Indigenous face. Brother Kofi, we're sitting in the home of Sheik Aieed. Okay. Second Shalom. And Sheik represents the indigenous face of this land. Along with the Hebrew Israelites, you have the Hebrew Ishmaelites.
And what land, where are we right now?
We're in Israel. We're in the southern region, the Negev. But it's actually northeastern Africa. Mm-hmm. You know, this is not the Middle East. This is not Eurasia. You know, this is actually the northern corner of Africa. And we determine this by, you know, when you look into the biblical narrative, the Genesis, when it points out the boundaries of what's called the lands of Abraham, the lands of the promise.
Hold 1 second. I think y'all are hearing, because I'm looking at this video here and I'm not seeing the screen. I was trying to share the screen, so let's do this again. I need for, let's see here. I made a mistake and I didn't switch it back. Okay, so stick with me right here. Let's go ahead and get this screen shared. And it's so important. I'm going to go ahead and just start right here again.
Shalom. And Sheik represents the indigenous face of this land. Along with the Hebrew Israelites, you have the Hebrew Ishmaelites.
And what land, where are we right now?
We're in Israel. We're in the southern region, the Negev. But it's actually northeastern Africa. Mm-hmm. You know, this is not the Middle East. This is not Eurasia. You know, this is actually the northern corner of Africa. And we determine this by, when you look into the biblical narrative, the Genesis, when it points out the boundaries of what's called the lands of Abraham, the lands of the promise. And it was given to the seed of Abraham, not just to the Israelites. It was given to the seed of Abraham. It was identified as from the Nile to the Euphrates. In fact, it's the Tucson, the Gihon rivers of Egypt. And we all know Egypt is in Africa. So the Nile River of Egypt, Africa, all the way to Iraq and Iran. When you have the Euphrates and the Tigris, or the Euphrates and the Hiddekel rivers. Those are actually the boundaries of the lands of Abraham. And so when you identify the biblical narrative, these lands were, like I just said, they were not just given to the Israelites, they were also given to the Ishmaelites. Abraham had two sons, Ishmael and Isaac. And not only is the land given to both sons, even the covenant of Abraham is to the seed of Abraham. And even though it was directly announced that Isaac would be the forerunner of the covenant, and that's when the question asks, what about Ishmael? So Ishmael is going to be blessed also, not less, but will be blessed right along with Isaac. And in fact, it says great princes will also come out of Ishmael. Now, these great princes today, the people who claim to be the legacy of those sons of Ishmael are the sheiks of Saudi Arabia, the House of Saud, the sheiks of Dubai, the sheiks of Iraq, Iran. But if you trace this history back authentically, you'll find that the people who have the direct connection to that covenant is sitting right next to me on my right. And again, this is part of the history that so many Eurocentric institutions didn't want the world to know. They didn't want the world to know that Israel is Africa. Why? Because of unfortunately, the Western world is steeped, their power is steeped in Eurocentric supremacist ideology, which is a whole other subject, and we know that that's not true. And so, if you connect this land, Israel, Egypt, and in fact, up until 1956, Egypt was identified as a European civilization. It was the work of Sheik Aieed, who came forth with the archaeological and the historical data that proved that the indigenous people of Egypt was even African. Right. I want to show you something, since I mentioned that. Well, before I go into there, I want to let Sheik Aieed say a few words and introduce himself in terms of what he does. And this region. In fact, I mentioned on the way up that the Middle East African Diaspora Unity Council is a nonprofit organization, and we're also the facilitators of the Middle Eastern region. We use the term Middle Eastern region when we work with international organizations, because they just can't get Northeastern Africa. That's a lesson in itself. But in terms of the African Union 6-region policy, you may be familiar with that. Yes, we are the representatives or the facilitators for the Middle Eastern region. Sheik Aieed is one of the founders of that organization.
Good. That is good. That is very good.
Okay. Let's say a few words.
First of all, you are welcome.
Thank you for having me.
My home. This is, I say you my guest today, So you are welcome here in Segib Shalom, my house in the Negev, In Israel, we call it Holy Land. So I'm a sheikh. Sheikh is mean like a chief or the leader of his community or his tribe. We still live like in the tribes, you know. Just a tribe. Tribe is mean like a community. You have to lead them. You have to be the head of those people. You know, to guide them. You know, to the right. You become a sheikh is not. It's not like your choice or is going by vote. They're going by choice. The family sitting. Who's can lead these people? We choose you. If you have, it's not about age, it's not about, but all the time they give, you know, inside the family, just the family. Another family, they cannot take this. Like the kingdom, something like this. They choose you. First of all, you don't know why they chose you, but then you know why they chose you. You have to be patient, you have to be wise, you have to be got a lot of things. So this is what we share.
May I ask, how many people are in your village?
In this village, there's living 12,000.
So you're responsible for 12,000.
No, I'm responsible here to 2,000, and in Rahat, another city, I have also my another family. I'm originally from another city.
Okay.
It's called Rahat. So I come here to separate. But in Rahat, where originally I live, there's more than 3,000 people.
3,000
people. There is another black sheikh in the tribe. He's got maybe he get 10,000 more than me. You know.
Okay.
So we dealing together, and this is I want to say, you know, that, you know, in this place, you know, how we call it, you know, Northeast Africa. So we originally here, and we back to the seed of Abraham. We know our ancestor from thousands of years. We know,
so you know your history, thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah, I know originally where I'm living, where is my land. Maybe I take some of the friends before to my land and show him, you know, where we living, like, you know, north of Sinai Desert in the border over there. We know our ancestor thousands years. We know originally who we are, and this give you. It's not just me, you know. We like a sheikh and a Bedouin. You see the Bedouin maybe in the way you see the Bedouin unrecognized village. We know each other. You just give me the name of your family, I can know who's belong to who. Even he's have different name of family. I will tell you those people before 1,000 years, one man. Yes, we know they separate like a tree. This is very important. Even the Prophet Muhammad say, if you keep this knowing, this knowledge, you will be in heaven because you know each other.
Yes.
Not like this. That's why you see in our region here, even in our unrecognized village, there is no police, there is nothing. Even in this town, there's just one car and two policemen. So we the police, I'm thinking, you know, is the.
Okay, let me pause that real quick, and because I know sometimes people need a guide to kind of understand what he had just said. Just give me 1 minute. They know who they are. Now, you got to realize, I am going to be asking some questions, and I'm going to dive deep into some of these questions. And sometimes answers, you know, can't be raw, because there are those who can't handle raw information. So sometimes you got to be wise when you present answers. And sometimes you got to be sensitive to understand there are people out here who consider themselves to be these different names and things. And it was only told them by behind, and they may believe of such, of who they are. But what he said, it is for you to have the knowledge so that you can pass on this history, that you don't never lose who you are. This is something that we, the diaspora, don't have that knowledge because we've been sent abroad and away and, colonized in slavery. So we have to understand what the brother is saying, which I'm going to get back in 1 minute. They know their history. It's just that the media will never interview these folks. This is Israel. When I was in Jerusalem, I met people who were original from there in Jerusalem for thousands of years. And if you want to know what happened to them, you need to talk to them. Because remember now, in 1948, many of the Jewish people came in and created, the world created the Israel state. But it was occupied by some people. And who was moved out to make room for those who they saying these people are coming back. But what he's saying is that they know where their land is. You can take it, see his land. They know their history thousands of years ago, and he's going to drop some gold nuggets. Let's get back into it. Let me make sure that I put this one back up on screen. Let's get back into this.
The heritage, your lifestyle. This is keeping everybody, knows.
Right.
And we have everything. We have even, call it Bedouin court. I can judge people here. I can make a solution. Everything. Every night.
She could actually sometimes say that some of the youth, some of the boys get in trouble. The authorities, the police, the Beersheba police, they would actually allow the sheikh to put the youth on some type of house arrest under his observation and jurisdiction. Instead of putting them in jail. They actually let him, care for the delinquent youth.
Okay.
It's not by, like a prison to close you don't have to close. I just bring him here. I give him a space. You can move just here, and that's it. I can leave. So I can put them here for a while, and they get to free. I can guarantee for him from the government. Just go to them. They leave him for me, Sheikh. Thank you.
Sheikh, on the way up, we were talking about how there was a time where historically, if we go back to Abraham, the Ishmaelite culture and the Israelite culture were okay. When we go back biblically, during the sons of Abraham, the cultures of the Ishmaelites and the Israelites were very, very similar. You could barely understand the difference. They were one people. There wasn't remember at that time of Abraham, there was no Islamic religion.
Right.
There was the Ishmaelite culture.
Right.
It was the Abrahamic culture, so the sons of Abraham.
Let me get some clarification for people out here. Ishmael and Isaac both were black.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so was Abraham.
So was Abraham.
Right.
Their father. I want to clarify that because there's this ignorance that Ishmael might have been a different color than Isaac.
Exactly. How could it be?
How could they be?
Exactly.
So I just want to clarify for the people who are listening.
Great.
Yes.
In fact, this is a very historical picture you're looking at right here.
Yeah.
The son of Ishmael, who today would represent the Arabs, and then the son of Isaac, who would represent the Jews.
Right.
But there's peace between us. We could settle the Middle East crisis
Right.
in one conversation.
Right.
Okay, so let me come back to myself again real quick, because there's some things I want y'all to understand. Number one, behind them is a TV that is showing the news. This particular day was on Jerusalem's day. It's a holiday. There was a law that was passed that allowed the Israelis to be able to enter in where the Muslim side is of their holy place or what have you. There was allow Israelis to go and enter into an area. Now I'm gonna tell y'all this right here. Israel is so divided amongst Muslims. You could only be a Muslim in around some. I mean, they got sections and zones within the Jerusalem area. You got some Muslims, Israelis, Jews areas and stuff like that. That it's so divided in sections and zones that this particular day there was protest because you had the Muslims who were upset because why are you gonna let the Israelis come in on our holy place that we go, and yet they're gonna sit here and pray, and they're not supposed to pray there, but they can go whatever and sightsee, whatever it might be, but they had passed this law. So what you see is those Israelis who are out there who might be trying to partake in this new law that passed, but then you got like some Palestinians, or you might have some Muslims that are upset because of this situation happening, which police were out there. There was some fires going on. There was some people arrested. So this is the news on that day that I was there. I happened to go to Jerusalem the next day to visit the Jerusalem and all that there. Now, you got to understand what he just said when he was talking about Ishmaelites, which is Sheik Aieed, and then Jews. And if you watch my brother's hand gesture, he's going to point Israelite or Ishmaelites, the Jews or Israelites, as those who are depicted in the scripture, the holy writings. Now, there again, I'm not trying to create no division amongst people. If you believe you're something, this and that, whatever. But we're going to stick to the actual accounts of those who have their history of thousands of years of knowing who they're connected to. So let's get back into it.
If we go back to the original intent of our forefathers, and like I was saying, the Abrahamic culture was one culture. There was no Jewish religion. There was no Israelite religion at that time. Mm-hmm. There was no Islamic religion. Mm-hmm. There was just the Abrahamic culture, which what we call the sons of Abraham.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask this question to the Sheikh. You all recognize yourselves being the people in that Bible, or you refer just keep it as far as the Quran? I'm just asking.
Sure.
That in America they want to whitewash everything, but you all know who this people are and where you come from when it speaks of the history of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Ishmael. In this context, these are Black people. These are African people. This is you all's teaching for thousands and thousands of years.
If you go back to the history when Prophet Muhammad came, you look like this. Now they claim Muhammad was a blonde or something. I say no, because they tell his cousin, the fourth Khalifa, the fourth leader after Muhammad, Ali bin Abi Talib. If you go check him, even in the YouTube, you see he was very black. Mm-hmm. So Muhammad is not black. Okay, his stepmother, when his mother passed, his stepmother, they say it wasn't. They say I'm Muhammad came, there was 3 or 4 Israelite tribe. Bini Nadir, Bini Koraida, we know the story, the right here. This was Israelite, and what's going there that, you know, Prophet Muhammad, even talking about the Islam and the tourists today, they living together, one by one. Nobody talk. Why? I'm telling you why. Because both of them, they under the covenant, and the two side, they believe in, they will call it Abrahamic faith.
Right.
This Abrahamic faith, everybody knows the way. It's
Right.
not about this. So even in our religion, you say Christianity and all those and Israelite. There's your brother. Don't let them do what he's pray what he's like.
Exactly.
You live in together because you have the same culture.
Right.
So you cannot, even not just far, you know, 1948, before this European came here. If you go to Jerusalem, you don't know who's a Jewish, who's an Israelite, you don't know. You don't know. Just when we go to pray.
Let me come back here and pause now, because see, some people are going to miss this. Some are going to miss this. What my brother was saying is that before 1948, before the Europeans came over in, you couldn't tell who was, everybody going to Jerusalem and all that right there. You couldn't tell if you was Jew, if you was Muslim or whatever, you know, unless you prayed or something, but because they all looked alike. And so 1948 was only what, 74 years ago. 74 years ago. And this brother's telling you how things were before the Europeans came in, and who are the, you know, the media is saying, you know, the Middle Eastern, the Israelites and the Israelis or whatever it is. It's not, he's telling you thousands of years ago of the history of what is. That Muhammad and those who were Muslims, which I'm gonna do a video tomorrow with him, you better tell every Muslim to watch this video tomorrow. Every Christian to watch the video tomorrow. I'm gonna play what he's gonna say, because I've been trying to tell a lot of people what the history of Islam is and where and how it was able to grow. But I ain't gonna get into it. So this is what he is sharing, because stories are being told differently, but you got people on the ground who are there, who live there, and you see these type of things. So let's get back into it right here. It's about to end here in another minute or two, but let's let him finish off.
He's praying something different, that's it. But the same language, the same culture, the same everything.
So you're saying that even before 1948, when Europeans came up in here, that Jerusalem had black people.
Yeah,
the black people.
Yeah, if you could have went to Jerusalem today,
All around. I understand you were sharing about the deportation
yeah,
that happened.
they deported into Jordan during the war, after the war. But let me show you something, Brother Kofi. This book here, Martin Gilbert, it's called In Ishmael's House, right? And it talks about the relationship between the Jews and the Israelite people. And you see, they refer to him as Ishmael, in Ishmael's house, not in the Arab's house or the Bedouin. They're referring to this culture as Ishmael, as we've been saying. And one of the things that this author points out, Rofe, is that the only reason why Muhammad is not in the Bible is because they intentionally did not, didn't want him there, because they didn't want those two cultures to amalgamate. But Ishmael was a prophet. He was a son of Abraham, but he was a prophet, just like Isaac, Jeremiah. Same energy, same idea. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it.
Okay, let me get back. This right here, family. This right here. Okay, this is part one that I want you all to just digest this and do your research. That our brother Sheik Aieed is sharing, who lives there in Israel. I was just there. I left and all that right there. Did the interview with him. I was also taken to other African communities in Jerusalem. And there's some other places that next time I come, they're going to go ahead and connect me with, because these are the unknown, that the media will not want to get the stories of these people who existed in the land for thousands of years ago. We believe that it has always looked like, just like Egypt, looked like the way we see it today. And it is not so. What my brother was sharing with you all was the fact that the two, for those who know the scrolls, the ancient writings, scriptures, whatever you want to call it, the Bible left Ishmael out of the picture, which was the firstborn of Abraham and his maidservant, because it didn't come from his wife, because they tripped out and panicked and all this right here, whatever it might have been. He didn't believe, think all was too old or whatever. He had wanted a son, or to conceive, and brought forth a child that was from the maidservant. And the mother, she got sassy with, Abraham's wife, where the mother was like, you got to get your tail out of here, because now you're trying to boast like I couldn't produce a child and you the one who produced the child. You got to go. Well, Abraham blessed that and said, you have to go. See, a man always protects his wife. But because it came from his seed, because it came out of his loins, it is said in the scriptures, ancient writings or scrolls, that Abraham's seed will be blessed, which included Ishmael. But you don't hear no more about him whatsoever, little to none, rather, that you hear. Now, what our brother's saying is that this was kind of purposely done because they didn't want the two cultures, where you would know of the Islamic state or the Islamic faith through the prophet of Muhammad, who should have been mentioned in the Bible, which he's not mentioned, but you can find over in the Quran that you can find Jesus, you can find Moses, you can find all of these other people that is mentioned in the Bible, but you can't find in the Quran. They didn't want to mix the two cultures, because on the Ishmaelite side, which we see that Sheikh, who I interviewed, is on the Ishmaelite side, is in the Muslim side of the house. That's the Ishmaelites. But on the other side of the house, which is the Israelites, came from Ishmael. And these two brothers were blessed. We know that we know that Isaac, I'm up here, Ishmael. Ishmael, but Isaac was the second brother, the two brothers, Ishmael and Isaac, that they had two different sides. And that's why the brother said, you need to go back to the video, because he said, he being an Israelite and Sheikh being an Ishmaelite, they can get along because we brothers. Where you saw behind them on the screen, you see people fighting. That's why he said, we can go ahead and have a conversation in this whole war right now. And this is not to, throw mud on anybody where they are. But I'm saying, I did this video as another piece of the puzzle to bring some clarity for you all who are unsure of who you are. Because people ridicule the Quran, people ridicule the Bible and say that's the white man, it came from the white man. No, it's the teaching. See, when you can put anything, I can abuse anything. And then 100 years later, people say, see, that ain't what it is. That ain't the truth. That ain't it. Because look at him. Look what they've done. If you don't know the history of how even it came about. Because tomorrow's video, the Sheik is going to drop some nuggets and it's going to bring even more clarity to substantiate my presentations of what I've been trying to share with people for quite a few years. If you're not willing to get off your butt and go out into the world and listen to people's history, you're only limited by those who taught you his story and not our story. We got to understand that. You got people who just talk all day long. You see them out there on YouTube. They just talk. They have panels of people just talking and talking and talking and ain't doing nothing to bring the awareness and the education to be able to present to a people to grab hold of something tangible that those who are living today, not some 1,000-year-old story that we don't even know how that connects with us, but for those who could substantiate some of these stories that exist by those who were passing it down for thousands and thousands of years. In America, we only have a history of when we got off the boat. In Africa, their history is only far as their country is, and which is only going back 60 years. So we're all at a disadvantage. They don't know our story. We don't even know their story. But if we join together, becomes a powerful force, then, and only then, you can grow to a higher consciousness or spirituality, going back to the roots of where things used to be. Because you're going to find out, I don't want to break nobody's heart, but even there are those who consider that all Christianity, Muslims come out of Africa. Like the brother said, like they even the Sheikh said, Israel is considered in their books, and they're what they're told, living in Israel, and the Sheikh been there, he can tell you thousands of years, that land is called Northeast Africa. This is something profound. I hope that each and every one of you all will share with your loved ones. I hope you take the video and just send it out there, because we can sit around here and talk about and debate about who's who and all that right there, and have all this ignorance of people who want to talk about you native to America and that, you know, you ain't got nothing to do with no Africa and you ain't this or that. And, you know, and people got labels and titles and what they want to call themselves and all right there. And the silly ones follow it because you're ignorant. And they ain't showing you nothing. When you go through my videos, I'm showing you, I'm sitting down with these people. Go through my Egypt, go through my Ethiopia, and I just now released information on Israel. Go through my other countries I've been to. I don't care if it's Curacao, Aruba, South America. Learn from other people. Because if not, you're missing puzzle pieces to your puzzle, that now you're walking in ignorance off of people who come up with crap, and then you running around amen and everything they say and causing it to grow. And now you got people running around ignorant. So let's see here what we got out here in the chat that people like to share. Anybody got any questions? Anybody have any questions? You know, Muslims had their time with enslaving our people. There again, I will say this right here. If you have to ask the question, why do we as Black people around the globe get mistreated? It's because they know who you are and you don't. You shouldn't even be asking that question, but I understand because you don't know who you are. Why are we the prized possession, or we are the prize inheritor of this being mistreated? Now, some people want to say scrolls and scriptures and the writings is because we sinned as people and we have disappointed God, and so God punishes. Now, scrolls and scriptures may say that, and it does, but they are misinterpreting some things with that. You gotta understand why. Because when you step out of line, the protective hand that you can't see and you don't understand lifts off of you when you are now out here doing things contrary than what you're supposed to be. When you have a son or a daughter that begins to act the opposite sex, do you not correct them? If your child starts behaving in fashions, do you not correct or discipline them? And for those who stand on righteousness, if your child is of age, an adult, and they do some stuff walking out here, which a lot of our people do, who do some cruddy, evil stuff, and because of your child, that's my baby. And they walking out of who they really are. And you will amen it because your love is more than your love for the Most High. Because my children, they go out here and they're not representing coming out of from who I am. I don't know you because you're not my child no more. My job is to raise you. You're the Almighty's child. And you're going to come up around me living some certain type of way, behaving certain ways that you weren't even raised, and you want to go and follow the world. I don't know you. You think you're not my baby. You the Almighty's. I'm not accountable to you no more. I raised you in a way that you should go. But you chose to go a different route. Now, when you come to your senses and you want to come back on board, my door is wide open for love. The prodigal son is a story that we all know, the prodigal daughter, if you want to call it that. We will have a big feast because I would be so happy to see that one that came out of me comes back to their senses and stand upright, being the light for the world, teaching the people who they really are, not taking them down the dirt road of acting and behaving like the rest of the world is. When you don't know who you are, you will go, the world, I always tell my kids this right here. When you don't know who you are, the world will tell you. And guess what? You'll behave just like it. You'll become a drunk. You'll become believe me, when I mention this stuff, this is what I used to be. You become a whoremonger. You'll have children out of wedlock. You'll be up here, get arrested and being always in the infractions of the law because you are above the law, because you know how to carry yourself. You know how to be one that is a representative of the one, the Most High, who impregnated you with the spirit of having the same image, that you can operate now within it and fulfill all your desires. The sad part is we're following a format of those who took information out of our hands, twisted it, turned it around, sold it back to us, and we followed it and wondering why. Why would God let all this evilness go in the world? If there's really a God, we got children starving and we got murderers and rapists and slavery. If there was a God, why would God allow that to happen? See, that question and other questions that people ask, which I get, because I used to be that way years ago. But when you understand some things, simplify it then. Because those children, my children that I bore with my wife, their mothers, they know that, hey, when you go out here into this world and you do what you want to do, you get your reward. God ain't got nothing to do with that. It's the evilness of man. Now, if man decides to stand up on the side of righteousness and all that right there, now you're going to see change, because now we being a representative, the world will be able to watch and be able to see. And I got a video I'm going to do too tomorrow to show you that when we was in Jerusalem and a brother, I think he was an Israeli came up to our brother when he was telling us the truth about Israel, this guy walks up to him and says, "Who are you?" And the brother laid it to him who he is affiliated with. Do you know what this Israeli did? I got it on film. I told y'all this the other day. He sat there and wrote a check, $3,600, and wanted to know more about this and who he is and the people he's affiliated with. See, when you know who you are, people become interested, especially when you're living it. Not using no title and you walk around thinking that it's going to get you anywhere. No, because you know what? Those who claim to call themselves these titles don't even walk in it. I've seen too many of them. I don't care what religions or whatever you want to call it, that these people profess that they are, they're not walking in it. Majority of them aren't. A majority of them are not even walking in it. These people are just fakes. And then you want to go ahead and follow these people. Oh, they are considered and their title. Oh, okay, they're doing this, they're doing that, this and that. Okay, so now you want to measure yourself to them, and now you're thinking you're good. We have to get to a place to know who we are. Once we know who we are, you're talking about a power. You're talking about having the hand of the Most High that's going to lay this blessing upon you and your. Let's see what we got here in the chat. Let's see here. Yeah, you know, yeah, you know, TBK, you know, the Bible says, I don't even like to say Bible. I really don't. The scroll of scriptures, ancient writings say that one day Ishmael will wake up and remember their nature. This prophecy read your Bible. Well, yeah. You know, we are scared of that though. And I can't blame most people when you've had, you know, these writings in the hands of fools. But when you begin to explore inwardly as well as outwardly, who are you? And then you realize who you are. I'm telling y'all, you ain't gonna be the same. I say this not braggadociously, but I tell people this right here. Everything I touch turns to gold. Because that is blessed by the Most High, that back in the day when I was in the dark, everything I was doing failed. But because of my actions, you see, I praise the Most High through my actions, not know what they want to tell you. You get up and dance and you're shaking and you're doing all this right here and singing and all right there. No, 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 no. If you want to go ahead and praise the Most High, your actions, walk in the righteousness. You will then understand then that now you are an example of one that is right. You're not about one cutting corners and trying to go ahead and act like you something, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, there's many people out here, you know, they can put on the beards, put on the hats, put on the clothing. They can sit here and pray. They can do all of these mimics, but inwardly, they ain't right. They'll still kill, lie. They will go ahead, bear false witness. They will go ahead and do all of these things and yet want to fit the part. Nah. It's the heart. It's the spirit of one man. And this is where I am depicting of what those people who are holding some of these keys to unlock our mindset so that we can see that, look, if I am this part of this people that were chosen, then I need to find out some stuff then about how do I play or walk into this. If you can walk into the ways of the world, you can walk into the ways of the Most High. And once you do that, I'm telling you, now all of a sudden, because people always ask me about Go Black, they send me the emails and all right there. How can I hear from the Most High? How will I? How do I know that this Most High is real and all these things here? Make a choice and make a decision. Follow right, or you can follow wrong. There's two sides of life: the right and wrong, or you can call it the light, the dark. You can call it the left, or right. You could call it, the feminine, the masculine. You can find it doesn't matter. Dualities of life, whatever names you want to give it. Okay, here I have just passed an hour. I didn't see any other questions. I'm going to open the floor up for any questions. If anybody has any questions, I am now here in Ghana. I'm also going to do a video of my place I bought in Ghana. That's right. A man changed his mind. I changed my mind. Some things I'm going to drop some nuggets for y'all too. Stay tuned with the videos I got, y'all. I got some interesting things when I was in Israel. I got some talks with some folks. I got some with our Hebrew Israelite family, not the ones on the street corners in America. I know that Hebrew Israelite name, boy, I tell you, this is a set apart people who walked into their being a Hebrew Israelite. And this is different than what you would know of, because anybody can put, like I said, anybody can put names on themselves and call themselves whatever. King Cease Black Pilgrimage says, do you need a vaccine for Ghana? Ghana, for he who has an ear, let him hear. Ghana, when you come to Ghana, they're requiring you to produce a card or what have you, showing that a vaccine card, whatever, that you have received the vaccine. Go Black. Is it true that the AA community in Dimona is the biggest AA community outside of America? I can't say the biggest outside of America. I could say the biggest and the largest in Northeast Africa, which is Israel. To my knowledge, what did I say to my knowledge? You have African American communities in America. African American, or you might have African Americans communities now that left America to go elsewhere. Community, I would probably have to say yes, community wise. Now, African Americans who left America, I think the most you're going to find is probably Liberia, because in 1820, there was a lot of brothers and sisters going to Liberia, getting out of America. And but community, they probably are. Let's see other questions here. Other questions. Let's see here. Are they still selling houses for $20K in Namibia? I don't think I came across a house that cost $20K while I was in Namibia. There was no houses I saw for no $20K. Let's see here. Here we go, right here. Do you keep the Passover, the Pentecost, the Sabbath, and more? Okay, very good question. I like that question. We have to understand something. Everything initially was put spiritually, then turned physically, and then released back into the spiritual. The physical was a school teacher or a schoolmaster, as they would say, is to teach you one of what it is, how you are, and who you are in this makeup of your spirituality, because you're a spiritual first and foremost being. So the keeping of the Passover or the Pentecost or the Sabbath or more is who you are. If you want to look in the Bible, Jesus, when he was confronted with that question, he said, I'm the Sabbath. Rest in me. Now, there are people who will go, I'm not trying to sway nobody not to do what they want to do, whatever. But what I'm saying is that when one acknowledges the meaning of a Sabbath, when one acknowledges the meaning of the Passover, when you acknowledge and understand that, now take it to the spiritual, and now all of a sudden you're going to find that, oh, shoot, I rest in the Lord every day. But I understand the importance of why is a rest of importance physically. You better give that body a break. You better give the body a break. Because it also says, because even the Most High rested on the Sabbath. But yeah, good question. But for me, I see it in spiritual where I operate within that spiritual. Because you're going to find today, physically, on a lot of things that you will find scripturally, you may not have the opportunity to do it. And there are some leeways and some things for those who do it because they found out that it was because things now, like if you got to pray and you're on a plane and you got to pray a certain time of prayer during the day, what do you do? Some people try to hold on to it, but I mean, okay, let's go to the next one. Let's see here. Is your understanding of who you are was spiritual or a learned knowledge you found? That's a very good question. So my understanding of who I am, I'm going to tell you, I was 38 or 39 years old when I was confronted hearing in me that I'm not a black man per se, based upon what my mindset and what they told me being a black man was. I'm beyond that. The skin color, yes, pigment, it's a point or what we would say, a signpost of taking you to where you originated and who you are by the very tone of your skin color. But when I came to understand who I first and foremost was, that was spiritual, wasn't learned. I had an awakening, and it took me almost a year to digest that. I couldn't let go. What do you mean I'm not a black man? What do you mean I'm not a black man? It took me almost a year to chew on that and swallow it. But I had to go through some transformations and realize, okay, what does this mean? And then as I begin to learn more in my travels and understand and connecting with some of those, it started to add some pieces to what I was hearing, which was validating and substantiating the very thing I was learning spiritual, because everything will have a witness. It should be a witness to the things that you're hearing in the spirit or being shown. Not with your ear, because sometimes we play games with ourselves, with your hearing, oh, well, that's God telling me and this and that, and no, I ain't talking about that. I'm not talking about that at all. Not no hearing like that. I'm talking about it is that light bulb that goes off that send you on a course of which you're just, being presented rather of the very thing that maybe you've been asking for or wanting to know, and you thinking it's you doing these actions of, why am I doing this? Why am I interested in this? Why am I researching this? Why am I being moved in this direction? Very good question. Very good question. Second of all, let me add to this right here. I was 28 years old. Didn't know nothing about no Bible. Wasn't going no church, none of that, all that stuff right there. When I was confronted with a presence, when I was about to commit suicide, and the only thing I knew to do was say, if there is a God, whatever, please help me, as I was crying in my living room or whatever. And this peace came upon me and hit me. I'm talking about, when I say hit me, not like boom, but like whoa, and put me at rest. Because my mind was gone. I was at the end of my rope. I was losing my mind. And it brought on this peace. It hit me and I changed. I didn't learn that. That was an encounter. And that's all I know. I wasn't there in the Bible 5, 10, 1,000 years ago. I don't know whether or not all those things happened that was in the Bible. But there are things that I have been a witness in my life to, even in some of those things, to see that there is some truth to it, to some of those things. Next question. Let's see here. Okay, I got 3 more minutes, y'all. Let's see here. Buying home in Ghana. What about Fuma Town? What about it? I bought one there too. When I was in the dark, I was broke, busted, and disgusted. When I came into the light of the awareness of who is, what is, and who I am, I started to ascend. In all things, I started to ascend. I was descending when I was in the dark. To each his own what you believe. But I can guarantee you, we can leave religion out if you want to call it that, but let's just look at your life. Where are you ascending or are you descending? Do you have a peace of mind, or your mind you're filled with worry, stress, struggle, strain? This is where, family, hey, this is where it's at. You can listen to all these other people and get caught up into the mix of this ain't, that ain't, this. Okay, I ain't trying to feed you anything. I'm saying test everything. You should be testing every belief that you have. If you haven't, it's your right and prerogative not to. You can walk blindly all you want to, but you'll be just like I was. I walked around carrying a bunch of lies that my mama, daddy, and the world told me, the school told me, college told me, all that, until I find out the truth. And it's like, man, I was a fool. But I wasn't. I was ignorant. But I became open and was able to see. All righty. All right, family. This is like the last of the questions. I thank each and every one of y'all for coming in, just hearing, listening. Please rewind again for those who just now coming in and look at our brother who is sharing some stuff about where he is in Israel, who he is, and what has been passed through his generations, thousands of years ago, to show they were planted in Israel way back then. This is your man, not your boy. Go Black to Africa. Peace out to each and every one of you all. Continue to ascend more and more. Don't descend.